So let me take you back to a time of when I started taking Rocket League seriously. It was the summer of 2016 and I had enough of sucking at this game, so I decided to put a lot of time into it. I messed with control settings, camera settings and monitor settings, and I eventually stumbled upon settings that I believe are perfect for me. Now in this video, I'm going to give you the reasons as to why my settings are perfect for me, and my hope with this video is that it helps you find your perfect settings as well. I aim to make 3 videos on this: camera settings, control settings and monitor settings. Okay, so let's start off with camera settings. So there are 5 major categories when it comes to camera settings. That is field of view, distance, height, angle and stiffness. So a great starting point would be to take a pro's camera settings, which is what I did at the beginning. I decided to take who was the best player in the world at the time, was Kronovi's camera settings, and I used this for quite a while until I realized that this wasn't working for me. There were still gaps in my knowledge in the game. So I started thinking about what I could do to make me improve faster at this game. Started thinking about my progression, and so I decided to change my camera settings around. So I started tinkering with my camera settings, and I started changing things like the distance, the height, the angle, just to give me a very good view of the pitch, so I could understand rotations and movement of players and exactly the way the game was flowing. So I did this until I got a good understanding, and then I thought, I want to be more precise now. I feel like I understand the positioning. I want to be more precise. I'm going to dial my settings back so the height comes down to 280 or whatever, 260 even, and everything is closer and I can hit the ball where I want to, because I know where everyone on the pitch is now. I know what I should be doing, I know where I should be in certain situations, and I started actually visualizing the game before I could even see what was happening. Okay, so what exactly is field of view? Field of view is the open observable area a person can see through his or her eyes or via an optical device. So basically, the higher the angle, the more of the field you can see. The lower the angle, the less of the field you can see. So with this knowledge, I decided that I want to see as much of the pitch as possible, and I wanted the highest FOV possible. And this is backed up by a lot of pros that use this. I know Kronovi uses this, Cooksey uses a high FOV, and many other pros do as well. It's just so you can get a good range of view of the field. However, just because there are many pros that use this, doesn't mean it's right for you, and doesn't mean that it limits your potential in this game. I know for some people that having this fisheye effect can create a nauseating feeling within you. So if it does, either stick with it and try to get used to it and see if you can push past it, but if you can't, I'd say just leave it and maybe dial back your distance, which I'll talk about later. So now let's talk about stiffness. Now the reason for me changing my stiffness was because I started playing once and I wanted to get better at 1v1s. And I found that when I changed my stiffness, I suddenly had this precision I never had with flicks and shots and aerials, and it was just amazing. So I decided to keep this from now on. So stiffness controls how rigidly your camera follows your car. So in essence, what this means is that the higher the stiffness, the less the camera moves from your car when you're moving fast. And the lower the stiffness, the more it moves from your car when you're moving fast. So I am currently using a 1 stiffness and don't think I'll ever change. But pros like Squishy say it's very weird to play on 1 stiffness and they don't like it at all. Now I've never understood that notion, just because I want the same effect every single time I hit the ball, every single time I do a flick, every time I go for an aerial. I would prefer to have that precise knowledge that I'm always doing the same thing. But I guess if you're used to it, then I guess that's all that matters. So distance is pretty self-explanatory. It controls how far your camera is behind your car. Now if you do get a nauseating effect from changing up your FOV, I definitely say mess with the distance a bit so you can see more of the field. Dial that back a bit and just see if you can play precise as well. It's actually a great learning experience, as I said before, for me, to dial back my distance and to watch the way the other players are playing. Instead of analysing a replay and spending time like that, I decided to dial back my distance, and that's how I was analysing the game and seeing how people moved at the rank I was at. So I'm definitely not saying that you don't have to ever analyse a replay. Although I've never done it myself, I do know Squishy vouches for it, and it's a great way to learn positioning and rotations, and probably better than dialing back your distance. But this is just one way you can do it in-game and see how you react to everything that's going on. So now let's talk a little bit about height. height controls how high your camera is positioned above your car. Now, when I was learning ones, and to be honest, I'm still learning how to play ones, I hid my height to an extent where I could see everything above the ball. And because you're very grounded in ones, this isn't a problem. But if you go into a different game mode, you'll start finding that it's hard to aerial, it's hard to judge the ball with a height so high. So I'd say for 1v1s, to learn people's positionings, I'd say it's a very good idea to actually adjust your height in a high level. Now, a pro like Lefemir actually uses a decent high height relative to other pros. And even with this height, he's able to do excellent flicks, excellent shots, and excellent aerials. So it doesn't actually hold you back if you're willing to put in the time. But maybe if you're a casual player and you want to improve quick, maybe dialing down the height just to be more precise may be a good idea. But if you really want to put in the time and do what I did, I'd hide my height for 1v1s and learnt where people were and sort of had a better idea and understanding of the way the game works. Okay, so now let's move on to angle. This controls the default angle at which your camera points towards your car. Now, I've never really changed the angle too much, apart from changing from a -3 to a -4 or to a -5. And the reason for this, because if say you use a -15 angle, you actually see less of the pitch ahead of you. So I wanted to always see as much of the pitch as I could, while still maintaining some precision on my car. And that's why I've never really changed it. So I may have changed it to -5, may have changed it to -4, and keep it now at -3. But I've never felt the need to change it, as I want to always see as much of the pitch as possible, which has always been my goal, whilst keeping my precision. So you may argue the fact that it actually doesn't change that much about your visibility, but when a ball is very high up on the wall, you do actually lose the visibility when you're out of ball cam. And that split second of not seeing the ball can change a lot about the way you position and the way you react to that chance. However, as always, there's a contradiction. There is a very mechanically gifted player, and probably the most mechanically gifted player I have ever seen, called Gainer. And he uses the max angle possible. Yeah, his ranks are low, but I'm sure if you put the time in, he could make it work. So to finalize this section on camera settings, I'd like to leave you with this. There are no overall perfect camera settings. However, there are perfect camera settings for an individual. Like me, I am currently using 110 FOV, 280 distance, 110 height, -3 angle, and 1 stiffness. So although these are perfect for me, they're definitely not going to be perfect for you, because we're all different. But if you're willing to take the time, like I did, to learn and to experiment with these settings, you'll definitely get to your perfect settings soon. I hope this video really helped you in finding your perfect camera settings, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.